So as we settle in, I just wanted to take a moment to say what we're doing today. We'll be taking a look back at past work of Church and Society over the years. And we have several people here that will give us a little bit of a foundation in that legacy. And we're going to focus on what we're doing in the present and here and now. And we want to solicit input from everyone on what directions you'd like to see us take in the future. We'll do a brief orientation of the 2025 mission funds allocation. And by way of doing that, I will just refer you to the handout that Peter just distributed. It has a list of how we've donated. The generosity of donations to this congregation has made and how it's allocated by the session approved budget. Each year, a percentage comes to Church and Society, and we go through quite a rigorous discernment process to designate who will be receiving money from us. And that's all itemized in the handouts with a little bit of a historic perspective going back to 2022. Yep, that's it. And with that, I'd like to ask Royce. Do we have Royce? Yes. Royce, you are on.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Yay. Yay.
Are you ready for me to speak?
You are setting giving us a bit of an overview.
Okay, the volume of the speakers is fine, but discrimination is difficult for me, so I don't hear all the words clearly. So I apologize for that. I'm going to speak just briefly about Bare Roots, about Palestine, since Dave couldn't be here, a tiny bit about Green Chautauqua, and then a little bit about an advocacy team and some generalities. Bare Roots was started by Ash Wood. Ash Wood was there was a part of him that was very naive and childlike. And when things were first getting difficult in Afghanistan, Ash said, isn't there something we can do in Afghanistan? And then not long after that, he remembered seeing, I believe it was in one of the countries in the Middle East when we were on the Middle East trip, a separate country had planted trees. So he said, I wonder if we can plant trees in Afghanistan. And in asking around, he was referred to Beth Ashley, who had, I'm sure you all know who Beth Ashley is. She had just been on a trip to Afghanistan, and on that same trip was Asfa Eshen. I'm not absolutely sure, but I don't think Asfa was a member of our church or was worshiping with us at this time. I'm not positive of that. But at any rate, Ash called Beth. Beth hooked him up with Asma, and the rest is history. Asma was a very strong, fearless, spiritual, do it kind of person. I don't think I ever heard her say, no, we can't do that. And very commonly would say, yes, I think we can do that. So it all got set up, and there were maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 or 10 trips to Afghanistan, planting and distributing trees. I won't go into any detail about all that, only to point out that after Asfa died, Afghans for Tomorrow, an organization with whom we worked also, started a special program in honor of Asfa, which is a program that has to do with women primarily. And I can't give you any further details about that now. But the point, I think, for us here is that it becomes a problem deciding how long to support a program that what we are doing is primarily honoring someone whom we have known and loved. That's not an easy discernment. The Palestine-Israel Project was started by Walt Davis. Walt, was a professor at the seminary, had a knowledge of and an interest in and the ability to talk about small events related to the big world, and realized, I think, a lot about the situation that many people did not. So he educated us for a long period of time, culminating in a trip that he led, but was not the only person leading. In 2008, there were 14 of us, I believe, from this congregation, which is a record for this trip, which has continued over the years, known as Keep Hope Alive. Dave Jones has taken over our involvement in that and has been very active on a national level with the Bear Roots program. I mean, with the Palestine-Israel program. We're going to hear more about Gaza now, but it's worth pointing out that currently it is primarily Dave. Currently, it is primarily one person who represents us in this work. Green Chautauqua was used to be on this list, and no longer is there. And I want to mention it primarily because of the way it started. Also, there was a meeting of some sort. I think it might have been Church Society. I'm not sure. And Joanne Witt just said, "You guys know about Green Chautauqua? Wouldn't it be nice if we had a program of community education by experts?" And shortly thereafter, she said, "Well, of course, I can't do this all by myself." And as chair of Church Society, I said, well, okay, I guess I'll do it. But I bring it up today because I don't know how many programs we had. It was probably 10 or 12. But every single one of those programs, with I think a single exception, was originated, the idea originated by Peter Anderson. And if you ever look at the list of people who came, it's a very impressive list of people with broad knowledge about environment. But it was very, very close to one person that found all those people and therefore created that program. There has been talk about an advocacy team. It seems to me that it should be pretty easy for us to remember all the invitations that we've gotten primarily from Barbara Rothkrug about come to the table meetings, 825 Drake meetings, Golden Gate Village meetings by the thousands, supervisor meetings, now legislators for various kinds of legislation, postcarding, and of course the big demonstration at Civic Center yesterday. Well, it seems to me that it would be reasonable to ask people who want to be on the list of those being notified when there is an opportunity for some sort of advocacy, so that when the message goes out about the possibility, it goes out to people who have expressed an interest. Not that if you sign up to this, you sign up to respond to every invitation. but you sign up to be interested, and that maybe you have some advocacy that you want to propose. So you just send that in to whoever is heading this program, so that there is a team that is doing this. There can be a lot more talk about that. You have to notice in what I've said, and you will notice all day long if you pay attention, how often it is that a person gets something of great significance started. These are uniformly people who accept an issue as their own issue. This is not the church's issue. This is not church and society's issue. This is my issue. They don't say that out loud, but they behave in that kind of way, that this is important to them, and they are willing to pursue, to have the patience that's required and the persistence that's required, et cetera, et cetera. These are not infrequently times people who are otherwise not leader types. And so I say that in order that each of us be willing to consider that when we have issues that are important to us and that are burning us inside, that we too can be a part of this. I think I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Royce. That was wonderful to hear from you. I will take a moment to speak about TAM House, which is one of our longest organizations that we've supported. This church, along with a couple of others, and Ross Valley Rotary, founded it back in the late 70s with a vision of providing home for, initially in one house, 11 people, and then the second house was built along the way, 2005, for another 10. And I'm thrilled to think that we have had members of our congregation who've lived at the TAM House. It's and now we have, where did she go? Margie. So Margie has moved in about a month ago. Yeah. And she's smiling. So I'm thrilled that that's something that this church has supported for so many years. 2 wonderful homes in walking distance of this church. Has someone there representing us. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Dick, just to give us a few words about Carla Cole.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you all hear me?
No. Yes.
Yes.
For the Church and Society Committee, I think Royce has illustrated his leadership. And when I arrived, I suppose in the early 2000s through 8, it was also Dave Jones. And this fund that we're talking about had been named at that time Local Mission, which is a percentage of our budget that resources in the session would allocate to this committee to make the judgments as to where it might be distributed the best way. And Lindsay has already told you that the TAM House was a major focus of that. And she would come by the committee meetings every once in a while to be sure that that was there. We have been visited on a couple occasions by Carla Cole, who is a missionary in Central America, more specifically in Costa Rica, where she is a teacher or a professor at the Latin American university down there. And she has been a beneficiary of our local mission funds for quite some time. The Presbyterian Church USA, we are a church within a presbytery, within a synod, within a general assembly has mission people all over the world. And when I first became a member of the General Assembly Council back in the 1960s and 1970s, this was my experience of being in a new organization, which was downsizing because of fewer and fewer members. And the number of missionaries had to come down with that. Carla Cole has had some recent correspondence with Lindsay and with the committee. And she is now going to be retired because the Presbyterian Church USA has eliminated its direct support for missionaries. So Carla is now a volunteer teacher at this school. And receiving of funds from us gets a little more complicated, but it truly will continue. And that's very important. When I first was a part of the committee, I couldn't understand how that allocation from the session for local mission could be utilized for missions in Costa Rica. But we find a way around that. And it was working. On a couple occasions, as I mentioned, she has been hosting or being accompanying missionaries that speak mostly Spanish and touring in the country and touching bases with various churches, and has touched bases with this church. She's been in this room, for example. What more can I say? Hopefully can continue.
Yes, and so far it is. She's definitely, we sent money to her that she received on Friday. Just this past Friday, the donation for this year got to into Carla's hands.
The processing of money going out of the United States to another country is always a complicated one. And the Presbyterian Church USA has figured out how to do that. But now if we're cut loose from that, another method is going to have to take place.
Well, actually, Martha Olson Joyce came up with a brilliant solution. She looked at Carla's donation page, and right on there is a PayPal option. So, and the church, so it's very easy if anyone else is interested. That's the way to contribute to her continuing support.
Wonderful. And
yeah, we just heard that. We just learned that this last week.
Finally, I'll say that this document that I was given talks about that connection with Carla Cole. And if you want to be more directly connected to it, there is a way that you can receive it.
Perfect.
Talk to Lindsay.
So thank you, Dick. And we have Lisa coming up to us.
Okay, so disasters. I am going to talk to you about our disaster relief mission trips from 2006 to 2020. So I have my Mississippi shirt on right now. In August 2005, Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast almost 20 years ago. A few months after that, Carl and Joan Basor went on a trip with Westminster Church. And they came back and they had a group gathered by October of that year of 20 of us. And we went together to Gulfport. And the following spring, the youth went to Gulfport with Andy Rausch and Carl Ralston. And for the next 5 years, we kept going back to Gulfport, fall and spring, adult and youth trips. And we made friends there. We went to their homes. We got to know the area. And the Basors always came. The Basors, Joan and Carl, led the first 4 trips. And then I started leading them along with Carl Ralston and Dave Jones, who always came. And we had Erica and Lee came, and Maggie came, and I'm going to get more into the California ones too, but because we were so inspired, we after Gulfport, we went to New Orleans twice, an adult trip and a youth trip, because the work is still so present there. New Orleans is just always in need. The first trips were with Presbyterian Disaster Assistance, and then we worked with Project Homecoming in New Orleans, and Habitat has a big presence there. And we were about to go back to New Orleans when Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico in 2017, and we felt called to go there as a group in 2018. So a group of us went. We did a lot of things. Most of these trips were either demolition, clearing out, or building new. And PDA in Mississippi worked with the Mennonites and the Amish to get pre-cut wood homes that we were able to assemble. And it was just so thrilling. 1 week we started with post holes for the foundations, and by the end of the week, we had a house with framing and trusses. The outer house was done. And so these were such adventures. The sights, the smells, the accents, the food, such adventures being with each other, and also helping people who really needed us the most, who didn't have any other help. We saw people that to this day, my whole life, I'll remember. There are people who live in situations that we don't really see in our daily lives. And then the last trip we took was in 2020, January. We went to Chico because, there were people displaced in the Paradise Fire, and they weren't ready to rebuild in Paradise yet, but they were starting in Chico for people displaced. So raise your hand if you've been on one of these trips. Lisa, Maggie, yeah, Audrey, Jillian, and so many more. I have 5 pages listing all the people who came, all the youth, all the adults. And, the pandemic stopped our rhythm of going, but we'll see what we're called to do. And it's such a blessing, to Albert Schweitzer said that people who learn true joy are those who learn that true joy comes from helping others. And we were able to do that as a fun trip with each other too. So thank you.
And just a smidgen to that, the kids went to Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And they will always remember, I can't say enough about getting kids to go on these trips.
Yeah, Nicaragua, Mexico, with Carl Weston, and in the 90s. And that was before I was here, but the youth took some legendary trips. Ask Dave Jones about Tijuana. So Jillian, you're up. Thank you. Thanks so much.
I suspect it will be easier for you if I'm at this end.
Yes.
I was asked to speak about 2 things. You know that I like to explain and go on, so of course I'm going to do more than 2 things. The Presbyterian Church polity would have us start with the grassroots here and work our way up. I'm going to reverse that and kind of give an overview about a number of food-related and hunger-related programs starting at the General Assembly or the international level and work our way down to all of which we have contributed to. So if you start at the level of General Assembly, the program you probably know the most about is the Presbyterian Hunger Program. And we've given to that through this church for years, especially around this time of the year through One Great Hour Sharing. It's one of the groups, and they serve all kinds of international programs. And our church can give directly in that direction. The General Assembly folks are in the process of redoing and relooking at things and rewriting things So the Presbyterian Hunger Program, as it has existed in the past, will probably change in some ways. But the core idea of serving and providing food for people internationally will continue to remain. Coming down to the Presbyterian of Redwoods Presbytery, we have what some of you have heard of over the years as the Hunger Task Force. Its name has also changed over the years and is, come May, will probably change again as we vote on changing the name of that particular Presbyterian group to the Hunger Action Group. And that group is the one that looks at funds coming into the Presbytery as a whole that goes out in terms of grants one way or another. So our church here then donates to two big programs, both of which names I know that you know. The first one is currently called Sensibility. It was started out before inflation as 2 cents a meal. And it was developed in 1976 by Presbyterian women. And it is a program which functions in churches all the way around the United States. The funds are generally kept locally. And so on one Sunday a month, the church says, think about the past. The initial idea was you had a box in the middle of the dining room table, and you put a penny or 2 pennies, 2 cents a meal, into the box with a thought about this will help to give someone else a meal. And you brought it in once a month. And we still do that once a month collection. Those funds then come to this church, and the church is allowed to keep a quarter of them, 25% of it, and the rest goes to the presbytery and then is distributed as grants that solve food-related problems. The second program is 10 years old, unique to our presbytery, which is Pedal for Protein. So people like Vivian, who have gone out and ridden a bike in a program to raise funds, those funds go to supplement the protein products in food banks along the West Coast. And then finally, you give money when we provide meals for Marin homeless. You do it when we feed the fridge. You do it in small ways and large, going out into the community.
Thank you, Jillian. Devera, did you want to say a couple words? Or I don't want to take you off guard. That's okay. We'll keep moving. About Trans Hopeline?
I can say a few words, yeah.
Trans Heartline.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I should have spoken to you directly.
So this congregation has been instrumental in the life of Trans Heartline House, which was started by Jordan Decker and housed at the seminary, supporting people who were recovering from gender affirming care, from surgery. And Trans Heartline House has closed down now, primarily due to the shifting of logistics and dynamics. The healthcare that was offered in Marin County is really now centered in San Francisco. So it's really difficult to have a client who is in San Anselmo who has to go into the city for the doctor's appointments. And it's no fun when you've had surgery 24 hours ago to get in the car and ride for 40 minutes and back again. So Trans Heartline has closed down. The energy and the excitement and the volunteers that were direct supporters by providing food, by providing rides, continue to meet. They continue to meet monthly, and there is a new community. The Marin LGBTQ Center is forming. They now have their 501(c) status set up. They're ready to go. They have located a space. So this is the THL volunteers are renaming themselves, coming alongside the community that will be gathering through the Marin LGBTQ Center, which will hopefully really be a place, a community hub of communication, of support for increasingly the Pride community is beginning to identify itself as the queer community. So we may be seeing lots of cues around town, around in the county. So keep your ears and eyes and hearts open for opportunities to help, to be an ally, to be an advocate, to volunteer in supporting and sharing, continuing to share that good care that this church helped to support at Trans Heartline House, and then we'll now be moving into that Marin LGBTQ Center.
Stand in the corner, so all the way back to the screen.
The camera's up there, so they see you.
Yes,
Oh,
but they won't see my back. Yes. Hi, everybody. So I'm here representing Community Action Marin, which is Marin's largest human services provider, nonprofit. We've been around since the mid-60s. We were founded under the War on Poverty, so in 1966. And our agency, I work there. I've worked there for the past 4.5 years. Our agency is dedicated to addressing the causes and consequences of poverty. So in terms of the consequences, we work countywide, serving children and families, individuals. Our largest area of service is in early childhood education. So we do the Head Start program, childcare for families. The majority of the families that we serve, all of the families that we serve are economically vulnerable. They are among the lowest incomes in Marin County. And you might not know that Marin leads the Bay Area in poverty, and we have a high rate of child poverty. And in Marin, we talk about the invisible poor. There's a lot of segregation. And so while we might see some evidence of poverty in our community, which I think we definitely do, a lot of it is unseen. And so we do a lot of work around early childhood to give children and families a good, strong start. But we do work around food justice, housing, safety net, kind of basic addressing those consequences. But we also do advocacy work, and that is what my role particularly focuses on, because we believe that poverty is a policy choice. It's not based on inherent individual aspects. It's a choice that we collectively make, and we can make better choices. So we're always advocating for the systems and the structures to actually help people and serve people and not create barriers that result in poverty. So I just really appreciate, this is the first year that this church has supported, and it's really wonderful. Many of you have been involved in the agency for many years and coming to events and doing different things. So that's a wonderful thing. I've got some materials more about us if folks want to, but that's the gist of who we are. Thank you.
thank you, Gina. I just follow. I wanted to talk about two, an individual and an agency that we have supported, and one is the Ambassadors of Hope and Opportunity. 9% of homeless in Marin are youth that are 18 to 24 years old, and AHO, Ambassadors of Hope and Opportunity, is the only organization whose sole purpose is to support these youth. It was started in 2005 by a woman named Zara Babitsky in partnership. She has gained partnership now with 165 other providers within the county. And she partners with them to find stable housing, to job training opportunities, medical and dental care, and also bringing together a community of youth, for youth working with youth. And they have a cottage in San Anselmo that is their main hub. Right now, that through mentorship and the support that
people like us and churches and other organizations. They provided over 1,750 young adults help with permanent housing or at least stable housing for a while. And the goal is through mentorship to have these young people be self-supporting and self-sufficient and community members who give back to the community. So that's one thing. The other organization, well, not organization, is that actually through the Schloboms, I met Reverend Dr. Juliet Rosa Fiara-Sioa, who is the director of the Theological Seminary in Madagascar, in the capital of Madagascar. In 2019, she came to the United States to study at the Theological Seminary and to do her work in her dissertation. She also was a member of our community. And as she finished her work in 2020 and completed very quickly, actually, a dissertation, she went back to Madagascar to implement her program. And her focus with her dissertation was that she runs training programs for seminarians, pastors, spouses of pastors, service organizations, and even some elected officials to respond to the gigantic challenges of poverty, of human exploitation, of social and political conflict, and the environmental degradation that's happening in Madagascar. And she uses direct words from scripture, the words and action of Jesus, to enable the people that take her workshops to have something to hold on to in their heart and in their soul and in the work that they do, and just hold firm, and as a community hold firm. And not to date, because I didn't get that information from her for this gathering, but from 2004, she has had workshops that have provided support for over 430 seminarians, pastors, people within the community inside and outside of the capital of Madagascar. So we are her fund right now, and she was the recipient for 3 years of the Ann Penke Fund, which is, I won't go into, but a fund through the presbytery, and it has been remarkable for her ability to work with people. So thank you. Thank you.
Lisa, can I ask, does this church send money through the missions of the national church
No.
specifically to her?
It's through right, it's us.
Yes.
It's us. Yes, just our church. Just our church.
Okay.
She received the Ann Penke for 3 years. Last year, she did not receive that one, and that was a major funding. And then before she left, she shared with us all at church, and a fund was, offering was taken up, but right now we are just our church.
The Penke funds are through the Senate, actually.
Oh, Senate, not the president. Thank you,
Presbytery.
Alice.
And it is very unusual for them to be renewed. Those are usually things that are granted for 1 year. And I think she had 4 years.
Wow, okay, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But
Good. Yeah.
last year they said no.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa, for keeping Juliet on our radar. So Come to the Table is a big project that I've been working on, and Scott has provided incredible support, and so has the whole congregation. And our next event is April 26th, Policing Friend or Foe. If you have trouble signing up, let me know and I'll get you in. And there are brochures on the table, so you can find out more about Come to the Table that way. Pretty much everyone here has been involved in postcarding for the Environmental Voter Project, which we're going to continue to do as long as it takes.
those voters are young people of color and women. Yay, we're gonna support them. And we may start doing phone banking. Lindsay and I are talking about that.
Are you in one of those two categories?
What? What? No? Okay, so a big way to fight back for California is climate legislation. And 10 states right now are working on a make polluters pay bill of some kind. New York and Vermont have already passed them. And in California, it's called the Polluters Pay Climate Superfund Act of 2025. And let's see, Damon Connolly is going to support it. I talked to him. And we're going to tell you more about what you can do later. Church and Society has already signed on. And if you go look at one of those pamphlets I put there, you can see our name in small letters among the 170 other groups, including the American Academy of Pediatrics and the California Nurses Association. And so in a moment, Peter is going to talk about the church's prophetic mission to save the Palestinians from the genocide that's been occurring there. But before he does that, I want to repeat what some of the speakers said yesterday at the rally. Which had 5,000 people or 8,000 people in San Rafael. I don't know how many, but there were a lot of us. And Congressman Huffman said, we didn't ask for this dire moment. This moment has found us. And Pastor Floyd said, America is not cruel. America is not mean. We are better than this. And with our advocacy team that we're going to create, and which really we have been doing all along, I think we can widen our circles, do a lot more, and we need to do a lot more. We can share things together, we can learn from each other, and we can act together. We're not all going to be doing the same thing, but we'll all be working for justice. So that's my speech. And now, Peter.
Barbara, you're not speaking to me. I experienced harmonic conversion in the last 2 weeks. That's what I call it. Two amazing moments. I'm a beekeeper, or bees keep me, I'm not sure. 4 days ago, my hive split. This is what they do in the springtime. When the hive is filled up, half of the hive will leave. And I knew that they're going to leave, but I happened to be there when they left. So 15,000 bees flew up into the redwood tree behind their house and created a new hive. It's really beautiful. It's in the shape of a heart. Yeah. That's a shape that has evolved over 30 million years. 30 million years. And the point is for the bees to protect the queen in the center of the heart, to maintain her temperature of 96.4 degrees, regardless of the outside temperature, 96.4. The next day, I happened to be outside checking my hive, seeing how the remaining bees were doing. And I watched the swarm depart. They knew exactly where they were going, and they went together. Harmonic conversion is really beautiful. 2 weeks ago, on Wednesday, I was driving home and I was listening to KPFA. I was listening to Nora Barrows talk, and she is a member of the Electronic Intifada, and she talks every day about what is really going on in Gaza. And she also has her own radio program now on KPFA. She's brilliant. And she introduced her mother, Anita Barrows, 83 years old. And Anita Barrows read this poem. And after the second line, I had to park. I could not drive. I had to listen. Really compelling. So I'm going to read this poem to you. Day 541 of the genocide. A mother lays her 2-week-old daughter in a tiny cradle. Sleep peacefully, little one, she tells her. She has bathed her, diapered her, dressed her, covered her. The older children are asleep already. Only this one had been awake, her small, perfect eyes looking up at the night sky, the stars beyond the flap of the tent. Then the bombing comes, the relentless explosions, the smoke. My children are on fire. My children are on fire. The mother screams, doing whatever she can to extinguish the flames. In the end, of all her children, only one remains. The infant gone who lived 2 weeks, gone before her perfect eyes could find her focus. Before she could smile at her mother, who now must bury her, only the stars remain untouched, shine from their infinitely distant points in the sky, as though nothing of this had never happened. There are 17,000 such stories. At least 17,000 little children have been killed. Hundreds of thousands maimed, traumatized. I read that poem. The next day, we had a meeting, our silent prayer group had a meeting with Royce and Dave and Ron were there. And I read that poem and it hit them the same way it hit me. And then I drove home, and waiting for me on my computer was an email. It was from Sandy. Sandy is a trauma nurse, a Kaiser trauma nurse. She'd been to Gaza about a year ago at the beginning of the genocide, and she came back traumatized. She went back a second time. This is her note from last week. Just arrived. So happy to be back. My notes of what I experienced when it happened. Every building pancaked flat in Rafah with bodies entombed. UN team and drivers all in helmets and flak jackets. None for us, green fields of wildflowers. Boys flying a kite. People making peace signs. Hand on heart, waves, huge smiles, little kids throwing stones to car as we were driving by in armored vehicles with locked doors and windows, shepherds with sheep and goats. Cart with sofa chair on top, and guys smiling and waving, sitting in it. So many greetings from kids yelling with beautiful love. Our convoy goes from the border to meet our team at Khan Yunis. I love Gaza and the beautiful, incredible people here. Second email, couple days later. Sleeping at Al-Aqsa Hospital for 3 days. It's been amazing. So love my team. I cried when I got here, delivered the electric pump I've been trying to get in for 6 months, been working 12-hour shifts. A bomb dropped 400 meters away. The loudest sound I have ever heard. Crazy. No injuries in the community, thank goodness. People here didn't even flinch, so used to it. 2 bombs exploded nearby, one yesterday and one today. The loudest boom I have ever heard. No injuries, thank goodness. In the emergency room, so many profound consultations and cases. A mother of premature twins sobbed in my arms when I held her. I forwarded the poems and the emails to Tom, and he responded immediately. And he informed me that he was going to the East Bay to meet with Reverend Brewster and Reverend John and to talk about genocide. He invited me to come along to read the poems and the emails. I agreed. I went and I read the poem and the emails. Reverend John Anderson, who I shared a room with in 2014 in Detroit. We were both advocates. Hadn't seen him since then. It was like seeing a lost brother. He shared the fact that he had been working on this for the Presbytery of San Francisco. Resolved that as the Presbytery of San Francisco, we call on the President and U.S. Congress to block military sales to Israel in accordance with U.S. laws. We encourage congregation members and ministers of word to ask Congress to urgently halt weapons. We condemn unequivocally the genocide perpetrated by Israel with U.S. support against the Palestinian people. Every airplane, every bomb, every bullet, aerial surveillance, advice on the ground, that's all us. It is now our genocide. Yeah, that's important to know. I want to share this before I forget. This is a picture. Pass this around, please. Second from the right is the nurse. She happens to be Jewish. Well, my son has been accepted into the same program. He's waiting to be assigned. I hope he doesn't go. Reverend Brewster shared her report. Speaking for the Presbyterian Peace Fellowship, we call out genocide. There are copies over there on the table. I'm going to read one more poem, and then I'll shut up. Day 56. Who will tell this child that her baby brother is dead? Every day she dressed him. Every day she wrapped his small body in a blanket, in her blanket. Who will tell her it was not enough? Who will let her touch his cold skin that could not withstand this winter night? Why is it not spring yet? Why are there no tents, no promised RVs? Why wasn't this baby born later, earlier, whenever there might have been some chance of his outlasting the chill? Who would tell this child that all she did for her baby brother would never have saved him? Never.
Ron.
Yes, thank you, Peter. I would like to just make the observation that it's only because of things like KPFA where society hears anything about the Palestinian problem. That is about the only place network news does not cover it. And we should be aware of that. I mean, Keep Up with Live, 10, 11 years ago, when we spent time in Gaza and in the West Bank, it was clear how the Palestinians were treated in these areas. And now it's just so much worse. And something has to be done. The world community should not be allowing this type of genocide. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy.
I want to put a plug in for Homeward Bound. How many have been to their campus in Nevada? Good, good. And they have houses all around that shelter other people that are homeless, unsheltered, whatever the word is you want to use. And they're a great organization, just doing so much.
Thank you, Nancy. Well, we're at the 12:30 hour. We promised to be concluding. We've taken in a lot, and I want to thank everyone who contributed their experience. If you have a few more minutes, we can have an open discussion, but I'm mindful of everyone's time and Sunday plans. So if you need to slip away, that's fine. If you want to stay longer, the floor is open for anything anyone feels like they'd like to share. And think about how we can widen our circles, form an advocacy team. I think what Peter's described is very ripe for us to create a platform for activism, not just to hear about it, but to think about steps we can actively take to address this genocide. So that's one thing that springs to my mind. I also wanted to say the Church and Society meets every Tuesday evening in the church office these days. If we get to be a larger group, which
Every second Tuesday.
every second Tuesday.
Yeah,
So we're meeting.
we don't meet every week.
Yeah, sorry. The second Tuesday, and it's always the second Tuesday, so it's easy to keep in mind, which happens to be this Tuesday. So if you're brimming full of things that you want to get involved with or learn more about, open invitation, please come. We always could use more ideas and more bodies. So,
Lindsay,
yes,
I think Nick has.
Yes, Nick.
Oh, hi, Lindsay, and everyone. This has been great. And I just wanted to take a moment to just share about the street chaplaincy, which is now under the direction of Kiani Clark as our interim executive director. And the Church and Society Committee and the church has been instrumental in supporting the street chaplaincy over the years to help them provide spiritual care to the homeless and also build community. And as I was listening to everyone speak about all of the great things that we've done over the years, one of the things that we do very well in terms of the REST program under the leadership of Joy, and also under Joy's participation and leadership, organizing the volunteers for the street chaplaincy dinner, which is still happening every Tuesday, and they're looking for congregations, more congregations to participate in that. Not only, because the cost of food is so high, it's almost doubled to be able to do these dinners, but also the community. And I think with all the chaos and craziness that's happening in the world, the systems of injustice are designed to separate us. And these dinners bring people together. So I wanted to put a plug in for that, and also thank everybody over the years when I was executive director for the financial support and the participation. And it means so much to everyone I know on both sides. But especially the folks that are outside, and the relationships that they have there and the connections are so important. And I've heard that from congregation members as well. And lastly, I just want to say Church and Society was one of the first groups that I got to know at the church when I was at seminary, looking to do another community project, which was a veggie box ministry. And the seminary turned down my proposal. And I heard about Church and Society, and I met with them. And after one meeting, it was approved, and we were up and running in a few weeks with the support of Lisa Cosby And we had over 60, 70 veggie boxes to start with. And it brought together more members from the local community, got to know the church a little bit better, and provided healthy food, organic food, and buying things locally. So food is a real big theme with us, with the community fridge and the REST program and the street chaplaincy dinner. So I just wanted to thank everyone and also encourage us to continue to participate in the street chaplaincy program.
Yes.
Yes, and Joy's with us. We can also give a big nod, round of applause to her. Just one last word that I have, and Barbara, we may have something else too. There are handouts that we distributed. If you didn't get one, I think there's more copies that list all of the organizations we've supported this year, including their websites. If there's any organization you want to learn more about, just get it online. If it would be easier, I'm happy to share it electronically, so you can just click on that hyperlink. And then a summary of how the funds have been distributed over the last few years. And just if you're interested, you can take a further look into that. Seemed like there was something else I was going to say. Sue, do you want to speak, Sue?
About the community fridge?
Sure.
Well, I think Scott gave the best commercial possible this morning for the fridge. So, you know, there's not a lot to be said. We are bringing it in and out it goes. And we don't know where, but it goes someplace, and we're hoping it's really well used. And I think it's going to be more important right now as prices go up. I think the fridge is going to become more and more, and the pantry will become more and more important.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So I'm reading our sign that the church brought yesterday to this demonstration. Martha. Martha brought Save the Constitution for Me, and let's.
That was
have
on
some good
Riley's.
trouble. What?
That was on Riley's baby carrier.
Oh,
Save the Constitution for me.
So she's starting out making good trouble, so we better follow her lead.
Great.
Thank you. If everyone's had a chance to say what they want to say, if you want to talk to any of the individuals who spoke this morning, make sure you pick up the agenda. Everybody's name is there.
And there's some sign-up sheets. If you want to sign up for some special piece of information that you want more to know about, like climate legislation.
Oh, yes.
Or phone banking.
So I wanted to just take us out with a line from liturgy that we heard in church, I think last Sunday, maybe a couple weeks ago, which I was reminded of when Cory Booker included it on his marathon speech the other night. It's from Isaiah 40:31. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. And I think that says a lot about the way we like to think we work. So thank you for your time and interest, and anyone online have anything further to say? Well, go out there and enjoy this beautiful day. Go Giants.